it's changed a lot over the years because there's a lot more folks who are coming into this on the master's level pretty fast and then look for internships, formal internships. And so because of litigious legal reasons, there's an expectation that somebody will actually be involved in an actual internship, which means that you've completed a master's degree or at least are involved with it, and in most cases have finished it and now are a licensed registered intern for someplace. Whereas when I came out, there was a lot of options. I mean, I actually was not an licensed or a registered intern and had great jobs. I mean, at the VA hospital and other places, just because, you know, and then they actually paid okay. I think they're limited today. So I think that the direction is to encourage somebody to go straight into your graduate program or a graduate program, and that way it kind of protects the facility somewhat, because they're then working with somebody who's getting graduate level training or already has some.
That's a good segue to my next question. I know a lot of times we encourage students that are interested in pursuing careers in counseling and psychology to get experience so they can kind of test the waters, get some experience. So I know with all the confidentiality and legalities of the situation, sometimes those types of positions are hard to get, or even just observing a counselor can be hard to do. So what are some volunteer opportunities or internship opportunities that are available for a student where they could potentially try out the field or get some experience in the field?
I would say Homes for Runaway Kids kinds of things. The county-funded agencies, the best place that I would think of that might be an option, or first place that comes to mind, is where I cut my teeth was it was a place called The Bridge. I doubt if it exists now. It does?
Yeah, it does.
I love The Bridge. It's a great place. Because what it was crisis counseling for young kids that oftentimes were runaways, and it was a great place to learn some basic skills. You got some nice training and tools that I still use today. I learned there, and I grew to kind of love the feeling of the place. And there's other programs around. What comes to mind, Oz, others that are similar types of places.
Actually, where I work, I take on volunteers, and they help a lot doing tutoring and mentoring. So the good thing about it is you're getting involved with a day-driven program. So a lot of kids who are thinking about psychology or probation, we get a lot of them who come and volunteer with us, and it's really good. They can interview probation officers, they can interview me, they can ask about the program, they're in the classroom, they're helping, learning about the cases. So I think it's been pretty valuable. I've had quite a lot of volunteers that have went on. They've started as an internship with their bachelor's degree where they had to have some type of experience. And then they stayed on during the summer, and then decided to go on and get their master's degree.
There's a program that I work in called, it's through Sharp, it's called, what is the name? I'm blanking on the name. Arts for Healing. And there are different people working throughout the Sharp system. So you could be doing medical by the bedside, you doing art, and you don't have to be trained as an art therapist. They use music, but also they have people, if you have art skills, they're very open to different volunteers and training them. And I run a cancer survivor support group there, and that would be an excellent place. And if you're interested in finding out more information, I can give you the contact name, because she's always looking for interns, and it's a really good place to learn about whether or not you want to be doing art with people, whether it's called art therapy or not, but whether or not that's something you want to do. But it's an excellent program.
I did a training in domestic violence and worked at a shelter and worked on a domestic violence hotline before I went to grad school. And that was something you can do right from where you are. Shelters, homeless shelters, all kinds of help support services are always looking for people to come and help out.
It gives you kind of that feel of, is this the right direction, you know?
And along those lines, even though it's a somewhat different question, and I brought flyers and I saw some people picking them up, is that although the program that I run at UCSD Extension is for people who have their master's degree, once a quarter we offer an art therapy one-day program on different topics. This time I'm actually running it on art and the aging process for people who are interested in gerontology and that sort of thing. So those classes are once a quarter. You can check on the website, and those would be open to you. And that would be another way. This is a form of education. You could take a couple of those classes and see, is this a fit for me? Is this something I want to do? In addition to, I just wanted to really emphasize the idea, when people talk to me about becoming art therapists, I say one of the best ways to decide if you want to become an art therapist is to go see an art therapist and do that work. And that's what we're talking about, being on the other side of the couch, is how does that feel? And so I just wanted to point out to the educational opportunity that exists on this campus.
I think at this time we're going to go ahead and open it up to questions that you all have. So, questions? All right, here. Go ahead.
What exactly is psychotherapy?
Exactly. Actually, it's a broad umbrella of services, and it's a way of treating people that provides them an opportunity to treat problems. So it's really more of a service that's offered. And so if you then take what service you're offering, you can do it. Psychotherapy is a way of sitting. So, for example, suppose you come into my office and you say, well, I'm not feeling good. So then we say, well, so what's going on for you? And it's essentially a series of techniques, strategies that are used. Ideally, it's evidence-based treatment, which means that you might be using cognitive strategies, psychodynamic approaches, and a whole kind of range of them to help a person explore a problem. And the theory behind it is that as a person does that effectively, they begin to find solutions that they oftentimes didn't realize that they had sitting inside of them. So they've been kind of stuck. And that stuckness is what keeps those emotions kind of buried. So it can be something that's really old in their life and that they didn't even realize it was there, or it can be something kind of more recent. So if you take kind of the cognitive approach to depression, it's a kind of a simple model, really. It's the emotions that exist in a person's life are something that are valid. So if you're down or kind of depressed, blue, sad, or whatever, they're really valid. But the beliefs that sit underneath them might be wrong. Maybe you kind of have a belief that came from someplace old in your life. And sometimes when you start to analyze that attribution, what you're attributing is going on in your life, what's causing it, the belief is wrong. It's something that came from a place in your life where you were told this or that. And as you start to change or look at that belief, or cognition as it's called, you start to realize, well, wait a minute, that's not maybe an accurate belief. So maybe as you analyze it and start to explore it together, you start to feel better about something, because it's not really the case that the way you're seeing something is an accurate belief. So it's analyzing beliefs, feelings, emotions in a really kind of a protected way. And one of the real values of therapy is it's done in a privileged relationship, so that you can tell a person anything you want. Couple limits, child abuse and hurting somebody else, and a few other things that might open the door to it being exposed. But basically, it's one of the few places on the planet, attorney and minister, maybe one or two others, where it's absolutely private. And so people tend to open up about things they never even thought about talking about. Does that help some?
Another way to look at it is if you have diabetes and you need to go see a medical doctor for therapy, right? It's a medical physical condition. Psychotherapy, the psycho is the psyche, so you're dealing with emotions, psychological issues, and you're going to get help, therapy. So that's what the psychotherapist does, is help for the things that are the emotional side, which doesn't mean there's not an overlap. Right now I'm working with someone who has hives, and her physician referred her to me because there is no medical reason for it. It's a psychological one.
We got a question right here.
Yeah, I'm interested in social work, but I've heard kind of conflicting things about, and also horror stories about you get your master's degree and then you get your license, and then your license doesn't apply in certain counties, but it applies in other counties, or over state lines, the licensing. So after you've got your master's degree, how does the licensing, and I think it's probably a similar licensing process for psychology, how does the licensing affect what work opens up to?
Well, as far as the licensed clinical social work, I don't know that there's any limitations within California. where you're working.
Okay.
Oftentimes when you're going for a job, they may say, well, you have an LCSW, but we want you to have 2 years of clinical supervision before you qualify for the job, so to speak. So there may be qualifications within that specific job. They may want LCSW with 2 years post-experience for specific jobs. And as far as how it transfers out of state, each state has its own, how they recognize degrees from other states. I think that I've heard that LCSW from California, because of the stringent requirements, that it does pretty well in transferring to other states. There may be usually maybe courses that you have to take and maybe a test or not in another state, depending on how stringent their requirements are. Does that help?
Yeah, and then what's the difference sort of before you've got the licensure? I mean,
Sure.
when you just have your master's degree, sort of what's open to you, and then the licensing process, can you make any money while you're during that process?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of same with the MFT. You know, you get your degree, and then you have to do 3,200 hours of clinical experience, receiving supervision. I think with the MFT, you can start those hours before.
500 before.
500 before. LCS, the social work, it starts on day one once you're licensed with the board after you get your degree. So I mean, you're looking anywhere between 2.5 maybe to 3 years of experience, and you're not going to be working in private practice. Usually, it's community agencies or county agencies where you will be working. The pay is not it's not the best, but it's definitely better than if you weren't registered or doing a bachelor's degree. And then from there, you take, there's a couple of California tests that you have to take to get the license, same with the MFT.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.